Papa, yes, I have just graduated my study. Can I continue my study again? What? Do you realize that you are 30 years old? Go get a job lah. Alah Papa, if I work, I cannot study. If I study, I can gain knowledge and many things. If I work, I cannot learn anymore. I want my lifelong learning. Actually Akmal, do you realize that in a workplace you can also learn, but the learning is informal and it is indirectly towards you. I have work, so I know lah. If I go to the workplace, I can learn something. Oh, I see. Does Papa have any video? Oh, you want a video? Actually, when I was at your age, in a university life, I have made a video on a workplace learning with my friends, which is including myself, Ashraf, Natasha, Shazana, Aina Zamri, and Izati Shafira. Wait a minute, I stick my handset. Wait a minute. This is my handset. Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. In this video, we will explain a topic on a workplace learning. So what is a workplace learning? Okay, before we define it, let me brief on a subtopic that will be explained by my teammates, which are a theory on situated learning and cognition learning, issue and solution, a reflective practitioner, and Kaizen. What is Kaizen? I never heard of it. That will be exposed to you later. Okay, so back to our topic, which is the definition on the workplace. So what is a workplace learning? Okay, according to the Garabat et al. In 2002, okay, as a theory, okay, he said that the workplace learning is a set of process which occur within specific organizational context and focus on acquiring and assimilating an integrated cluster of knowledge, fundamentally changing their behavior. So, in a simple words, to be put on a workplace learning is a lesson or training that people receive while they are at work and they are paid for by their employer. In a term of students, is a period of time during which a student works for an organization in order to gain knowledge or experience. What an individual learns is defined by the requirements of their task within the organization or workplace. As an example, in our context as education student, in a 7th semester, we are required to going to a school to become a practical teacher. So we are doing and follow what the real teachers did, clipping their papers, clipping student papers, makes question papers for student, punch in before 7:20 AM for morning session and 12:20 for evening session. And we are also required to follow the curriculum activity, the sports day. Yeah, we are doing what the real teachers did. So that is a workplace learning. Also, to not forgotten to be included facing students in the classroom and many more. So that are the example of a workplace learning. It is informal, but actually it is a thing that require for you to fulfill the task and becoming a real teacher's letters. Okay, understand on it? Workplace learning can be divided into 3 contexts, which is formal, informal, and incidental. Okay, informal learning is generally organized by the institution for its workers. Training programs, mentoring, and programs that promote the pursuance of a certificate are examples of formal learning. What is informal learning? Informal learning usually takes place outside a formal institutional setting. And lastly, the incidental learning is unintentionally or generally a byproduct of an activity. This can happen when one learns from mistakes or gains insight while performing a task. A workplace learning can be if we do a mathematics. Okay, as an example, if we are a mathematician, okay, you like the numbers, so we are dividing the workplace into 100%. Okay, so we divide it into 3. 70, 20, and 10. 70%, 20%, and 10%. So what is 70%? Okay, 70% of what we learn come from our daily work. For example, we get new assignment and challenging job, of which we do not exactly know how to do them. By doing them anyway, we learn sometimes by trial and error. So the next is 20% of our knowledge and skills we developed through feedback and tips from colleagues and by watching how other people do it. And lastly, the least one which is 10% of what we learn. We extract from formal learning contexts such as training, e-learning, and workshops. We are going to my next part, which is a workplace in the term of teacher. Yes, we must know the workplace in terms of teacher because we ourselves are teachers. Okay, workplace learning is more concerned with informal learning rather than formal education and qualifications. Workplace learning can include formal elements but is predominantly informal in nature and is often incorporated into workplace social interaction and everyday practices. Okay, teachers' workplace learning is defined as changes in teaching practices in classroom and schools that are mediated through individual teacher learning and problem-solving processes in the school by Elstro in 2001. In the field of education, professional development is the generic term under which teacher learning activities and programs are organized and discussed. Teachers' professional development can be defined as those processes and activities designed to enhance the professional knowledge, skills, and attitudes of educators so that they might, in turn, improve the learning of students by Guske 2000. Workplace learning theories can be classified roughly into two basic categories in terms of teacher. Two basic categories. So what it is? Number one, learning as product. Number two, learning as process. The words itself clearly define what it is. Working is interconnected with learning and consequently workplace learning is the way in which skills are upgraded and knowledge is acquired at the place of work. There is also a research shows that 80% of the work-related learnings occurs informally, and this includes self-directed learning, networking, coaching, and mentoring by EO in 2008.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Muhammad Ashraf bin Jamil. Okay, so today I will present to you two theories of learning that can be used in a workplace learning. These theories will help you in getting knowledge or learning at a workplace. The first theory is situated learning theory, and the second theory is cognitive learning theory. Basically, in this presentation, I will explain to you the meaning of the theory, the benefits of the theory, and some of the components of the theory that will help you getting knowledge and learning at the workplace. So let's take a look at situated learning theory first. Firstly is situated learning theory. Situated learning is a learning theory that developed in the late of 1980s by Jane Leaf and Etienne Wenger. According to Leaf J 1991, situated learning theory is based on the assumption that knowledge should be presented in the authentic context that involve its application. So what is the meaning of authentic context? Authentic context in situated learning theory require learning method presented in which individual gain knowledge through a real situation or a real context. At the same time, situated learning theory required individual to be more actively participating in the learning experience or learning process. In situated learning theory consists of three main concepts, which are authentic, legitimate peripheral participant, and community of practice. These three concepts are important in situated learning theory that helps people or students to understand the concept of the theory. So let's take a look one by one. The first one is authentic. As I said before, authentic is a situation when students or people are embedded in a real world context or a real situation. For example, our practical session or internship. During practical, we have been exposed to a real environment, which is we were placed at the school, communicate with the student and teachers, and make a real lesson plan or a real job as a teacher. So that is example of the authentic. Second is legitimate peripheral participant. In legitimate peripheral participant, the learner or student will move from novice to expert through engagement, collaboration and interaction. It can be seen during our practical. We as a pre-service teacher or novice teacher always collaborate with our mentor, right? And make some interaction with teachers and school, and we also participate all the activities. So from that, it will develop your mastering the task and gain something new from your participation at the workplace. Lastly is community of practice. In community of practice, the knowledge is socially co-constructed by a community in which the only way to learn is learn from others or learn from the surroundings. It is focusing more on the social engagement that provide the proper context and facilitate the learning itself. There are 4 benefits of situated learning theory. First is situated learning theory focus on social learning in which community or surrounding provide opportunity for communication and socialization within the group. Second, situated learning theory link or connect your learning to your life. For example, provide the knowledge that will be used and relevant to the real life. It can be seen through it can be seen when we communicate with the school administration. From that, we will gain knowledge on the communication skill or on how to communicate with a professional person. Third is, situated learning theory must be active. Thus, individual must learn through active approach such as project-based learning, field trips, and practicals that allow developing of knowledge through trial and error. Lastly is prepare students for the 21st century. As you know that 21st century requires students strong in collaboration and communication skill. Next, we proceed with the second theory, which is cognitive learning theory. Cognitive learning theory is credited to educational psychologist, which is Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget believed that knowledge is something that is actively constructed by the learners based on their existing cognitive structure. Cognitive learning is a style of learning that focuses on more effective use of the brain. It is related with the cognition. So, what is the meaning of the cognition? Cognition is the mental process of gaining knowledge and understanding through the sense, experience, and thoughts. Thus, we can conclude that cognitive learning theory merges cognition and learning to explain the different processes involved in the learning effectively through the sense, experience, and thoughts. There are 3 elements in cognitive learning theory, which are comprehension, memory, and application. So let's take a look deeper at that element. The first element is comprehension. Cognitive learning strategy emphasizes you to understand the reason for learning the subject at the first place and the role of the knowledge itself. For example, why you choose education course at the first place? You will realize that you want to be a teacher, right? Thus, you need to learn about education subject. From that, you will love to learn on education subject. So that is example of the comprehensions. Second element is memory. The goal of cognitive learning is having a deep understanding of subject. Thus, you will improve the ability to relate a new knowledge with the previous experience or information. Lastly is application. It can be seen when you apply a new information, a new skill and a new knowledge in a real situation and encourage people to continue to develop a problem solving skill. In this part, I will explain to you two benefits of cognitive learning theory. First is encourage continuous learning. When you have a deeper understanding or mastering on the topic or subject, it will promote long-term learning as it allows to connect previous knowledge or previous learning with new materials. Second is enhanced comprehensions. As I said before, when you know the reason why you should learn that subject at the first place, you will develop and promote a deeper understanding of a new learning materials. So that's all from me. You can use the two theories, which is situated learning theory and cognitive learning theory in the workplace.
So today I would like to discuss on being a reflective practitioner. So first thing first, you need to know what is the meaning of reflection in context of education. Based on Norton, reflection means a disciplined inquiry into motive, methods, materials and consequence of educational practice. It enables practitioners to thoughtfully examine conditions and attitudes which impede or enhance student achievement. On the idea of reflection leading to professional development, Clark suggests that learning to be a good teacher results from conscious reflections on events, training, experience, readings, and other contextual contributions. So what is reflective practice? Based on Finlay, reflective practice is learning through and from experience towards gaining a new insights of self and practice. On the other hand, reflective practitioner means that a practitioner that are able to reflect in, through, and on practice in order to improve performance. Now we move to the model of reflective practice. There are many types of model of reflective practice. However, they all share the same basic aim, which is to get the best result from learning for both students and teachers. Now we look at the first model. In 1991, Scott have identified two types of models that are relevant in the development of teaching practice, which is reflection in action and also reflection on action. So what is the difference? The first model is reflection in action. So when you found the words in, means that the reflection happened during the lesson. It is the process of making judgment and changes on your action based on your past experience and new information you glean. For example, you teach a topic and you can see that student cannot understand. So this reflection in action help you to understand on why this happened and how to respond to overcome this situation. Next is reflection on action model. So when it say on, means that this reflection takes place after you've been teaching. So similarly, like before, you will use the knowledge gain to make the changes. The difference is in action, it happened during the lesson. On action, it happened after the lesson. In 1998, a theoretical approach of reflection was further developed by Gibbs. So Gibbs' reflective cycle is based on 6-stage approach, leading from description of experience through to conclusions and consideration for future events. For the first section, which is descriptions, the practitioner needs to clearly outline the experience. This needs to be a factual account of what happened during the lesson. The second section is feelings. So in this section, it encourages practitioner to explore any thought or feelings that they had during the event. The third section is evaluation. In this section, the practitioner are given opportunity to discuss on what went well and what is the things that did not work as initially planned. The next section is analysis. In this section is where practitioner makes sense of their experience. So they consider what might have helped them in learning or hinder it. On the conclusion stage, the practitioner need to draw all together the ideas and they need to know what they need to improve on and have some ideas on how to do this based on their wider research. On the last stage, the practitioner need to sum up all the previous elements of the cycle and then they create a step-by-step plan for the new learning experience. Now we look on the strategy on how to be a reflective practitioner. First, what teachers can do, they can make a journal or diary. So in the journal, they can describe their feelings, their thought, their reaction and what happened in each session, and they have to reflect on what to improve and how to improve. Recording of lessons provide very useful information for reflection. So by watching the recording of their own teachings or their peer members' teachings, they can develop awareness of teachings. They can clearly see their strength, their weakness and what need to improve so that they can make change on their action for future learning process. Next, the teacher can ask feedback from other teachers or students. So this can help them to reflect on their lessons and activities that they conducted in the institutions. This way they can see whether the activities or lesson is effective or not. I just want to share a quote from John Dewey. He said that we do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. As we know that schools are a place of continuous reflections. So through reflection, we should create an opportunity for all learners to follow their desire for knowledge and to make sense the world in which they live.
Okay, I get it. Let me think. I guess it's my turn. Maybe it's time to put this on your.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aina Najwa binti Azamri and I will continue to the last subtopic, reflective practitioner, that have been presented by Izzati Shafira, which is benefits of being a reflective practitioner. So in this presentation, I will highlight about 3 benefits of being a reflective practitioner for teachers' profession perspective. So the first benefit is professional growth. Being a reflective practitioner can help to promote your professional growth by carrying out an extensive inner thought process. You can have a much better understanding of your strengths and weaknesses. You can start by practicing simple reflective practice such as preparing and then analyzing your class session. By noting down your goals and the result, you can use the information to adjust your teaching routine, modify teaching techniques, and improve your strategy when addressing the class. The next benefit is it can help to enhance our innovation. Reflective practitioner can also use a reflective teaching methods to search for innovation on how to improve our teaching methods. Reflective teaching and innovation fully complement each other. For instance, if you notice that your student interest is getting decreased, perhaps you can use any innovation ideas such as use a screen projectors, any online platform, and any web application to improve your delivery and capture their interest back. You could also use the same methods to administer tests and evaluation. Last but not least, another benefit is it can help to enhance a problem solving. Experienced teachers will agree that a major part of teaching includes strong coping skill. Learning to solve problems and meet challenge effectively and efficiently is of the utmost importance. By being a reflective practitioner can help us to improve our skill in problem solving and challenge. For instance, a teacher can use a previous teaching experience either from our own or other colleagues' experience to search for solution for students who face a learning problems. Reflective teaching encourages us to learn to cope with problems in teaching. It also incites our creativity and problem-solving skill. As a teacher, either now or in the future, this is not only beneficial but most significantly crucial for our intellectual stability and a long healthy career.
Jawatankuasa Siasatan Bebas telah memanggil 17 individu berhubung kes gangguan seksual ke atas Dr. Pelatih oleh seorang ketua jabatan di sebuah hospital di Lembah Kelang.
Dijanjikan pekerjaan sebagai tukang taip, namun sebaliknya dipaksa bekerja sebagai pengendali operasi judi dalam talian.
Jadi biasalah guru ni berhadapan dengan pekerjaan dia dengan pelajar yang pelbagai jenis, yang pelbagai disiplin masalah dan sebagainya.
So guys, as you guys see from the video, either in the workplace or our learning place, we will be dealing with any issue or problem. For this presentation, I want to highlight only two workplace issues that commonly occur in the workplace, either in teaching profession or other profession as well. The first issue is sexual harassment in the workplace. Sexual harassment is any unwelcome sexual advance or conduct on the job that creates an intimidating, hostile, or any offensive working environment. Any conduct of sexual nature that makes an employee uncomfortable has the potential to be sexual harassment. For example, like we as a woman have a male colleague that said to you, like, "Hai Mina, ketat baju kau hari ni." That's the example of sexual harassment. The Malaysian government had initiated and formulated the Code of Practice on the Prevention and Eradication of Sexual Harassment 1999. Through this Code of Practice, sexual harassment is defined as any unwanted conduct of sexual nature that may perceived by an individual as an offense or humiliation or as a threat to one's well-being. So there are 5 forms of sexual harassment stated in this code, which is consists of verbal, like the example I give before, non-verbal or gestural harassment. For example, like giving a sexy hand sign. That's example, sorry. So another is visual harassment, psychological and physical harassment. So in Malaysia, this issue is always discussed and reported in various printed media where women employees in Malaysia are frequently exposed to sexual harassment behavior by their male colleagues and bosses. So, the prevention of this issue, as a leader, should launch a regular education and training campaigns on the prevention of sexual harassment. All employees should attend regular training program on the prevention of sexual harassment in the workplace, including training for new employee, credit examination meetings, credit communication, correspondence, and management training. The training for manager not only cover the policy but also includes on how to deal with this issue and investigate reports. The training should emphasize to the employee that before the first sexual harassment happen, even if the motive is friendly, the other party will feel uncomfortable because different people have different feelings for the same behavior, right? So don't assume that your behavior is acceptable to the other party, nor take for granted that you have established a good relation with the other. The next issue that I want to highlight is workplace bullying. Workplace bullying is a persistent pattern of mistreatment from others in the workplace that causes either physical or emotional harm. It can include such tactics as verbal, non-verbal, psychological or physical abuse and humiliation. This type of workplace aggression is particularly difficult because unlike the typical school bully, workplace bullies often operate within the established rules and policies of their organization and their society. In the majority of the case, bullying in the workplace is reported as having been done by someone who has authority over the victim. However, bullies can also be peers and occasionally subordinates. This issue clearly be provided under the Industrial Relations Act 1967, which is Act 177. It also has well-established legal duties for employers to ensure safety within the workplace. Section 15(1) and the Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994, Act 514, also state that it shall be the duty of every employer and every self-employed person to ensure, so far as is practicable, the safety, health, and welfare at work of all its employees. So, as the prevention of this workplace bullying issue in any organization should provide easy access to communication channels and support system, implement a clear method that doesn't have recourse for reporting incivility and bullying. Some organizations have toll-free hotline that employees can call to report instances of incivility or feeling targeted. Also consider implementing employee and customer survey. Another suggestion for prevention this issue, same goes to the sexual harassment issue. Organizations should implement a training. Provide training for all employees in respectful communication protocols and the consequence of not adhering to them. Many organizations go a step further and train employees in skill to prevent, recognize, and respond to incidents of incivility, aggression, and bullying in the workplace. So, as the conclusion from both this issue, workplace issue exists between individuals and groups. It may lead to a series of negative influence to the organization, even to our own work performance. When you are dealing with this kind of issue, do not hide it in the sand. Be brave, try to face it, and resolve it with legal action.
おはようございます。私はナタシャです。改善について話したい。
Kamu siapa? Kamu siapa?
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Natasha and today I'm going to talk about Kaizen. Have you ever heard about Kaizen before this? Okay, I bet there is first time for you to heard about Kaizen. Okay, before we are going further about Kaizen, today I'm going to tell you a history of Kaizen. Kaizen comes from two Japanese characters, which are Kai and Zen. Kai stands for change, meanwhile Zen mean good. Kaizen was translated from Japanese word which means changing something for better. It was originally used by Japanese businesses after World War II, where employees are famously need to stop the line if any abnormalities arise in their organization or company, and their leader or supervisor will suggest for improvement or changes to make the organization better. So, what is Kaizen? Kaizen is the philosophy of continuous improvement in an organization. A quote from Taichi Ohno, he said that Kaizen is about changing the way things are. If you assume the things are alright just the way they are, you cannot do Kaizen and do something and change for a better improvement. With Kaizen, manufacturers are continuously improve their equipment, process, and their daily production procedures. Beyond improving the workforce, Kaizen also helps facilitate a culture of ownership, whereas the workers will identify and improve their effectiveness and efficiency in the work. Kaizen in their organization, such as healthcare, finance, banking, government, psychotherapy, and also in education. In Japan, Kaizen has been a familiar term in schools. This is why most of the schools in Japan frequently changing. Kaizen in school refers to the continuous quality improvement of students' learning through the innovative of teaching techniques that is implemented by the teachers and supported by the school administration. Although Kaizen principles were originally designed for industries, but some of its aspects can be used in revolutionizing the school. The implementation of Kaizen in education will be explained more by another presenter. Now let's go to the benefits of Kaizen. Firstly, it will improve the quality of work. Team members in organization will have their responsibility in doing their job. Also, they're more inclined to commit to doing a good job. The next one is increase the productivity of work. By eliminating any waste will increase the productivity of an organization. The example of waste is such as time, overprocessing, defects, and also movement. Let me give you an example of waste in terms of time, such as waiting for latecomers in the meeting, and also you spend a lot of time in searching files or documents in the email or file system just because you haven't created a set of folder that enables you to find the documents quickly. Second example of waste is overprocessing. The example is you spend a lot of time adding colors to documents or reports, and you know it is going to be printed out black and white and will be distributed in the bin. So these types of waste can be reduced or can be eliminated at all, so that it can increase the productivity of work in an organization. The third one is improve morale and satisfaction. What is meant by morale and satisfaction is employees who are working in the Kaizen-based organization generally find that the work will be more easier and enjoyable. This will be resulting in the higher job satisfaction among the workers, also lower turnover. The last one for the benefits of Kaizen is improved communication. Employees feel empowered to communicate with their leader or management, and the management is going to be interacted with the employees to implement the changes or improve their work. And now we are going to the principles of Kaizen. There are 4 principles of Kaizen that you need to know. Firstly, good processes create a good result. By reducing waste in the processes with the key of belief that good processes will produce a good result. In a workplace, there are 8 types of waste, or the waste is also known as muda. Is activity that consumes resources without creating any value for the results. The type of waste is defects, waiting time, extra motion, excess inventory, overproduction, overprocessing, unnecessary transportations, and the last one is unutilized talents. The next one is improvement are based on the small change. Rather than wait for the major change to be implemented, begin improving, the change must be approached in the smaller steps. This will increases the speed to improvement and reduces the pressures of implementing a major change. Therefore, the small changes are often less costly and less risky. The third principle, the improvement must be measurable, standardized, and repeatable. In Kaizen, it is important to speak with data and manage with facts. In order to evaluate improvement objectively, existing procedures must be standardized and documented. In another word, you must have black and white document. This action allows to identify areas where your efforts are working or not, so you can make strategic decisions about the future improvement in an organization. The last principle is empowering the employees. Kaizen emphasizes the value of employees at every level of an organization. Employees who are closest to the problems are the best equipped to solve them. The engaging team members to identify problems and suggest improvements in their work areas and encourage a sense of ownership over their work, which can improve overall motivation, morale, and also the productivity of the work. And that's all for my part, and the presentation will be continued by Shazana.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Shazana Mukhtar and I will continue with implementing Kaizen. So I will explain about how we can implementing Kaizen in an organization. So to implement Kaizen, you need your employee motivate and involve. You want to create a workplace which does not receive change and in fact which is responsible for the change. To do this, you need the full cooperation of your employees and communication between management and employees is critical. So this means if you want to implement Kaizen in the school, the teachers need to accept the change and responsible for the change. For example, nowadays we really want to emphasize 21st century skill in teaching and learning process. So we encourage our teachers to change their method of teaching from traditional method to any other methods that can promote student-centered learning. So if the teachers doesn't want to change, resist to change, we can implement Kaizen in the school. Why? Because refer back to what's meant by Kaizen. Kaizen means we changing something for better. So if you want to implement Kaizen principle in an organization or in your workplace, so your employee have to accept the change. So we make the change, we change something because we want to improve the quality of the organization. So in teacher profession, we always want to improve our quality of teaching so that we can give the best for our student. So how can we implementing Kaizen in the workplace? So I will explain two cycles which we can use this cycle to implementing Kaizen in the workplace. So the first cycle is continuous improvement cycle. Continuous improvement cycle consists of 3 steps: saying the workplace, identifying problem, and implementing solution. So the first one, saying the workplace. So as a teacher, of course, definitely our workplace will be school and classroom. So after you saying the workplace, so you have to identify the problem. So what the problem has arise in your workplace. For example, maybe student behavior, student academic performance, classroom instruction, or classroom management. So you identify the problem and then you come out with solutions. So you have to implementing the solution to solve the problem. So after you implementing the solution, of course you have to see whether the solution solve the problem or not. If the solution doesn't solve the problem, so you have to come out with other solution and you have to begin the cycle again. So continuous improvement cycle will always continuous and alternate. Another popular model is the PDCA cycle. So PDCA cycle was introduced by Dr. Deming, the father of improvement quality management, and this cycle emphasizes 4 aspects which are plan, do, check, and act. The cycle will always continuous and alternate because we always want to improve the quality of an organization. Even though this cycle is meant for industrial sector, matter, but they are applicable for any organization that has series of activity to make a well-defined goal. So this PDCA cycle can be gamefully applied to a management education institute for quality improvement. So I will give you example on how can we use PDCA cycle in planning our lesson for teaching and learning process. So the PDCA cycle encourage teacher to be methodical in their lesson planning and to discuss and refine their teaching for subsequent improvement of future lesson. So we know that teachers always familiar common with lesson planning. So lesson planning is important for teachers because before we enter the class, we always plan our lesson, how we carry out the lesson, how we want to deliver the content. So if you are using this method in planning your lesson, so the teachers require to first plan the lesson. So in PDCA cycle, a group of teachers meet as a team to set goal and to collaboratively design a lesson. So this means in planning your lesson, first you have to meet with other teachers. You have to plan the lesson collaboratively with other teachers. This is like brainstorming. So you brainstorm on the objective of the lesson, how you want to carry out the lesson. Okay, second is do or teach the lesson. So after you finish your lesson planning, once you complete your lesson planning, so one of the teachers in the group teach the lesson, while the others group member we observe the lesson, occasionally acting as a student. So after you finish your lesson planning, so you will teach and others member will observe because they want to see any change that have to be made to improve the quality of the teaching. So the quality of deliver the content in the lessons. And next is chat or repeat the lesson. Chat or discuss way to improve the lesson. So after teaching, the whole group need to analyze and reflect on what transpired, as well as to discuss way to reteach the lesson as a means of making it more effective and motivating for the student. So this means after we teach the lesson, so we meet again to analyze and reflect on what we have to change to improve the quality of the teaching. For example, before this we are using the method chalk and talk method, traditional method. So after you discuss and revise, reflect it, like okay, we must change this method because this method does not effective to be using. You change the teaching of method from the chalk and talk traditional method using interactive, for example interactive whiteboard. So you change the method because you think that this method is more effective and can motivate the student learning. So you made a change so that you can improve the quality of the teaching. And the last one, which is add or repeat the lesson with the suggested change. So after you reflect, after you discuss and analyze, you made a change. Okay, and of course you have to implement this change. So you have to add or repeat the lesson. So you repeat again the lesson, okay, which is teaching photosynthesis with suggested change with using interactive whiteboard. Reason why we implementing Kaizen and use PDCA cycle in teaching and learning process, because we want to improve the quality of the teaching so that we can give a meaningful learning for our student. So before I end my presentation, so I would like to share with you all a quote that I like from the founder of the PDCA cycle itself, Dr. Edward Demi. So he said that a bad system will be a good person every time. So that's all from me.
We are going to our end of our video. To conclude, okay, workplace learning is conventionally seen as a means of improving the skills of employees and enhancing their knowledge, and the learning involved may be either formal or informal. But there are also potential problems in workplace learning. Not all learning at work is good, as is shown by negative lessons learned by students or teachers. We may have a good experience and a bad experience. Okay, whatever it is what it is. We must accept it. I like to share some quote by Benjamin Franklin. He said that, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn." Goodbye everyone, thank you for spending your time in watching our video. Don't forget to answer the Google form. Thank you, goodbye.